you don't hate your job. In fact, you're probably pretty good at it. People respect you. There's a clear path of success in front of you. On paper, it just makes sense. And yet there's this part of you that no longer respects the life it is leading you into. Nothing is wrong on the surface. Everything on paper seems right. It's a stable job that provides well for your family, and yet you can't shake this feeling that something is off. Something is not quite right. And this path isn't it. This isn't the path for me. I remember when this first hit me. It was my first job as an adult, and someone made the passing comment they could still see me here in 30 years. And the statement was one of confidence, that they saw me and my work ethic and saw me moving up the ranks and being able to be there 30 years as a sign of success, a sign of stability. But something in me didn't sit well with that statement. I saw where that path led. It was stable and predictable, safe, secure, successful by all external metrics. But something in my soul would not be settled on that path. Something in my soul would not respect the man I would become if I had stayed. And so I was faced with a difficult decision. Not one of failure, but one of success. I could have stayed and been very successful. I could have had a very stable life. But the life on that road that I was building, would I respect the man that I was becoming? Or would I have abdicated the passion and the role that God has given me, the call that He's placed on my life? I see a lot of men live here. They're not lost in the traditional sense that externally their life works. They have built a life that is successful, that is stable, that works. And yet, who is the man that they've become on the path that they have chosen? And many are realizing that they've not become a man that they can respect in the life that they have chosen, in the life that they have built. There's nothing wrong with the life they've built, that has been able to provide a stable life for their family. And so in some ways, it has been a blessing. And yet, who have they become? And they too are faced with a hard decision. That it's easy to leave something after a failure. That if something is broken, then it's easy to leave. It's hard to leave when things are working, when things are successful. But to have the discernment to recognize that just because it's successful doesn't mean that this is the path that God has called me to build a life that we will respect, will cost us more. It is less secure. There are more risk and uncertainty. It's difficult to explain to others. Many will say, why don't you just choose this path that everyone else is choosing? That's more predictable, that's safe, more stable. And again, logically, it makes sense to choose that path. But yet our heart knows that that's not our path, that we have this narrow path that we've been called to. That doesn't make sense. We can't really explain it. It's lonelier on this path. It would be much easier to choose that broad path that everyone else is doing, but we know that something in us cannot be settled on that path, that we have to choose this narrow path that God has called us to. Even if we can't explain it logically, we are living by faith. We are trusting Him on that path, but it will cost us more. But what we gain is a sense of respect for ourselves, that we are becoming the men that God has called us to be by choosing the life that He has called us to live. And so when you start to feel something off in your life, this is the moment to start recognizing, to start discerning what is the life that you've been building. And are you building a life not that's just externally successful, that's just externally stable? Or are you building a life that you can respect? Are you building a life that God has called you to live, that you're living by faith and can respect the man that you're becoming in the life that you're building? When people make those passing comments that don't quite sit well with you, or you look at the road ahead of you and there's something in your spirit that's not quite settled, learn to listen, learn to discern, learn to recognize what that unsettledness might be pointing you toward. Maybe God is trying to wake you up to something you've been avoiding or delaying, putting off for a more opportune time. Maybe this is the time before things crumble and break, even when things are still going well. Is He calling you to recognize the path that you're choosing? Will you continue to choose the broad path, or will you take the narrow path that He's inviting you into? When you see this path in front of you, the question is not what is wrong, but what will you do with what you see? Because to recognize is just the beginning. It's not the end.